In a quiet corner of Wiltshire, England, hidden behind miles of overgrown woodland, sits the charred skeleton of what was once known as Hollowgate Asylum. Official records show it was shut down in 1919, just after the First World War. But no one talks about what truly happened behind those walls. Not anymore. It began with a letter. Jonathan Reeves, a 32-year-old freelance investigative journalist with a love for old mysteries, received a brown, weathered envelope in the mail. No return address, just his name typed neatly across the front. Inside, he found a brittle, yellowed patient file and a single photograph, a grainy, black and white image of a young girl with hollow eyes, staring through the bars of a padded cell. She wasn't named. The file was barely legible, but the asylum's name was clear: Hollowgate. Jonathan felt something tighten in his chest. Hollowgate had been closed for over a century, yet no real record of it existed online. It was as if the place had been deliberately erased. He had to know why. A week later, Jonathan stood at the edge of the Hollowgate estate, holding nothing but a flashlight, his camera, and a notebook. The ruins looked like a haunted cathedral, its roof caved in, windows shattered, ivy crawling like veins across its stone bones. Crows circled above, screeching in the gray dusk. As he stepped inside, a wave of cold air hit him, sharp and unnatural. The air carried the scent of mold, rust, and something else, something that smelled like fear. The entryway was littered with debris, scorched medical charts, crumbling furniture, a rusted wheelchair with one wheel still slowly spinning, as if recently disturbed. He set up his voice recorder and began to document everything. This is Jonathan Reeves. Entry 1, Hollowgate Asylum. I believe something happened here. Something that was never meant to be remembered. He took a step deeper into the hallway and froze. A voice, soft and wet like a whisper through water, echoed faintly. He's watching. Jonathan whipped around. No one was there. His recorder was still running. He played it back immediately. The voice was there too, faint but unmistakable. A child's voice, a girl. He's watching. His hand trembled. But curiosity and something deeper, obsession perhaps, pushed him forward. The sun had long since sunk beneath the horizon when Evelyn awoke in a cold sweat. The remnants of a dream, or was it a memory? Still echoing in her ears. A woman's voice had whispered to her in the dark, "He knows you're here." She lay motionless in the bed inside the infirmary, her body refusing to move, paralyzed not by sleep, but by a rising sense of dread. Outside, the wind moaned through the cracked panes, and the shadows on the ceiling twisted like grasping hands. The journal sat beside her on the nightstand, open to a page she didn't remember turning. The entry was short, written in hurried, jagged script. They buried her in the hollow, but the whispering never stopped. I fear the keeper. I fear what we created. Heart pounding, Evelyn lit her flashlight and scanned the room. It looked untouched, but the silence felt unnatural. She rose and gathered her gear, determined to return to the basement she fled the day before. The answers she needed weren't going to reveal themselves in the safety of daylight, or whatever passed for safety in this cursed place. The stairs groaned beneath her as she descended, the beam of her flashlight cutting through the gloom like a scalpel. The door to the basement was still ajar. Something pulled her toward it, not physically but spiritually, as if a tether bound her fate to what lay below. The moment she stepped onto the basement floor, the temperature dropped sharply. Frost coated the concrete walls and her breath came out in pale clouds. The smell was stronger now, mildew, rust and something organic, rot perhaps. Her light passed over old equipment, rusted restraints, surgical tables with faded bloodstains, and crude etchings on the walls, symbols she couldn't decipher. And then she saw it, a small wooden door tucked behind a fallen cabinet. It had once been painted red, but the color had long faded to a sickly brown. A tarnished brass plaque above it read, Dr. R. Thorne, Archives in Isolation. With a deep breath, she pried it open. The room beyond was narrow and lined with filing cabinets and shelves, full of rotting books. One table held a projector and a box of reels labeled by date, ranging from the 1920s to the 50s. Evelyn fed one reel into the projector and turned it on. The bulb flickered to life. projecting grainy black and white footage onto the peeling wall. A man in a lab coat stood before the camera. He looked worn, his face gaunt, eyes hollow. "This is Dr. Reginald Thorne." February 11th, 1948. Subject 44. Exhibits extreme sensitivity to sound, and particularly whispering. Her reactions are violent, almost as if the voices control her. He looked around nervously. "I fear the experiments have breached something we cannot understand. The hollow isn't just beneath us. It is alive and it is hungry." The tape ended with static. Evelyn stood frozen. She knew then that the whispers weren't delusions or residual trauma, they were real. Entities, perhaps. Something imprisoned here or awakened. Another whisper filled the room. Louder this time. "You are her," returned. "You must finish what they began." The shadows deepened. Footsteps echoed behind her, and Evelyn realized she was no longer alone in the hollow. The air was bitterly cold. The final remnants of fog twisted like dying tendrils through the shattered halls of Hollowgate Asylum. The walls moaned with the weight of memories, and Nathaniel could feel the building itself resisting him, groaning under the pressure of truths long buried. He had returned for one reason, to confront the keeper. Armed with Father Elias's journal and the iron key discovered in the chapel basement, Nathaniel descended into the depths of the asylum, a previously sealed-off wing hidden behind false walls and rubble. The journal spoke of the Root, a forbidden room where the keeper performed rituals meant to trap not just spirits, but fragments of time itself. As he approached the door, blood bloomed from the walls. Whispers slithered around him like vines tightening their grip. Names of the dead, accusations, pleas, some he recognized from patient files, others from his dreams. The key turned with a scream. Inside, the Root was circular and cavernous. The air was thick with rot and incense. At its center stood a stone altar, carved with eldritch symbols that shimmered with heatless flame. Shadows bent unnaturally, coalescing into a figure, the Keeper. But it wasn't just one man. His body flickered. Dozens of faces across time merged in one horrific mass. He was Father Elias. He was Dr. Harrow. He was the original warden, the manifestation of every cruel hand that had ruled Hollow Grove. "You cannot stop what was never meant to be undone," the Keeper rasped, his voice a harmony of agonized souls. "You murdered them," Nathaniel said. "You trapped them here." "No, I preserved them. I kept them from the abyss." As the ritual chamber pulsed, Nathaniel noticed the journal glowing. The final page contained a sigil, the true seal, the only way to break the binding and release the tormented. Chanting from the journal echoed louder. Nathaniel shouted the incantation over the screams. Wind roared through the chamber as the Keeper writhed, faces screaming in protest. The walls cracked. The floor heaved. With a final cry, the altar split apart. The Keeper was torn from within, his form unraveling into black mist. The spirits burst free, a rush of faces, names, emotions, flooding past Nathaniel with a feeling not of fear but relief. Then silence. The asylum collapsed around him, not violently, but like a curtain falling after a long play. When Nathaniel awoke, he was outside. The sun rose for the first time over Hollow Grove in a century. He walked away slowly. Behind him, the ruins shimmered one last time and then were gone. Erased. Nathaniel published his findings, but few believed him. Still, he didn't care. The nightmares ceased. The whispers quieted. And at last, the dead had been heard.